my iPhone tells me that I was running out of storage on my iPhone, and it stopped my recording. So whatever, I put a sack on it, and it's writing fine. And I think this will be one of the pens that I put in to carry outside when I draw. It has a nice, slightly flexible nib, and I'm able to sort of push it around a little bit. The pen has a little, wrinkle in the clip. It has a little tiny bit of pitting on the lever. It has a little tiny crack right there. But its nib is really great, and I'm able to, now that it is a sack that isn't screwed up, I'm able to draw with it without the fear of it dribbling a big old gob of ink on my drawing. No, it's really quite a lovely pen. It would be nice if it didn't have a crack in it here, and it would be nice if it didn't have a bend in that, but that's not bothering my use of the pen. And you pen collectors would just put this in your junk box, and it would never ever be used. You might remember that it's there, and when you get a pen that's perfect, that needs a nib, you'd go in there and yank the nib out and put it in a pen, which is fine. But that's not going to happen, is it? No, that's what I thought. It would not happen, or rarely happen. But this pen is now, even with its flaws, it's crack right there, and it's bent clip right there, and the lever is fine. There's no, but it has a really sweet nib. And yes, I may find a pen just like this in my collection that has a really cool name engraved on it, which I like, but no one else likes, and it might have a nib that I don't like as much as I like this nib, and I might do a nib switcheroo, but I am very happy with this pen exactly the way it is, because I can carry this with me, and if it falls out of my pocket and I'm run over by a bus, I'll say, "Oh, poor nib," rather than, "Oh, poor pen." I'll remember that the pen, even though we had many good times together, I'll remember that the pen, well, it did have a crack in the barrel, and the clip was bent before the bus ran over it. And I won't feel so bad, because I'll remember my favorite things, and then I won't feel so bad. It's really a sweet nib. This nib is really darling. It's so fine and just slightly flexible. Look, there's a line that it's making there. Right here. That line right there. That's a pretty sweet line. Made with this pen with the crack and the lever issue. If I had this pen in high school, I would have thought I had gone to heaven. I might never have learned anything, because I'd sit here and be doodling while the teacher was explaining to me how calculus works. But God, this is a nice nib. I know you hear me say that about every nib, and I don't believe it as much as I might say it. No, I don't want to lie. When I talk about nibs, I'm generally telling you the truth. This is really a sweet nib. I will have to remember that I like this nib. But see, this pen and this pen and this pen all have problems, and they're going to go into they're going to be filled with ink, black ink, and they will go in my man bag, my Merce, that I carry with me when I go outside to draw. And I've got this one for doing sort of fine sketching of things that are slightly delicate. This is my Parker 61, which doesn't have ink in it now, and the cap doesn't really hold on very well, which is why it can be run over by a bus, and I won't worry about it. But this will be my Parker 51. When I'm in the 51 mood, I'll use this pen. Right now it's not filled with ink. And, I do have the two, the writing right side up, thicker line, and flipping it over, it writes with the thinner line. And it gives me the Johnny two-note kind of pen I like. Sometimes, for some reason, the shell here is all misshapen and shrunk. Someone could have tried to put it in hot water for some reason to try to see if that would clean it. So the cap doesn't really stay on as much as it's supposed to. And it's missing its little gold arrow that it's supposed to have, which is a common thing that's missing. But this is the pen I would take with my Johnny two-note. And this one that has a big chip out of the cap lip, as you can see, and it has the broken end that I can break more by just scraping it here. Pieces of ambered plastic fall off. This pen has a nice rubbery, aggressive, smooth nib for doing those. If I was drawing an earthquake in progress, I would use this pen because I could capture the bridges collapsing and the humanity and the people being smushed, and I would be jiggling around and be trying to draw a straight line, and this would be happening. I could do that with this pen because it's already, and then I could say this happened because of the earthquake and get my insurance company to pay for it. See, I've got it all planned out, as long as they don't see this video. My pen had a pre-existing condition. So these are the three pens that I could put in my satchel, my Merce. What am I missing in terms of a pen to always carry with me? I could include my Noodler's ink pen that has the carbon ink in it, the ink that doesn't bleed when I add water, and it works perfectly fine. So maybe this would be the other pen I'd have. There's nothing wrong with this pen though, and if I lose it and the bus runs over it, I will be saddened. But because it's a new pen, I can always ask Nathan for another. Buy another one from Nathan. I did, however, put a gold Waterman nib in this, and it was not easy finding a Waterman nib that would fit this. It was a later number 2 size from the 40s era Waterman nib that worked in it. So a regular Waterman nib number 2 size from the 20s was too big. but this one works fine. So maybe these are the 4 pens that I will always carry with me, and I don't have to ponder, which is what I do now, which pens I'm going to take with me. Which ones will it be? The only other one that I might want to see if I can find is one like this. It's just a little moppier. Maybe, it's just, where did my yellow nib go? This is a pen that doesn't have, the threads don't work. It's almost like this, the wall is a little tiny bit more flexible. But this pen with the yellow nib, the Waterman yellow nib, and the wall pen, that the threads don't work, could be the 5th one. Each pen that I would bring in my Merce would be significantly different. God, I like this nib. It's really sweet. This was a pen that was in my sale bin, or my for sale bin. It wasn't in my sale bin, and I was showing it to a friend the other day, and we were playing with pens, and I bought about 5 pens from myself. I just put them in my pocket, saying, "Oh, these are mine now." And this was one of them. And I discovered it needed a new sack because the sack was weird. So there you go. The end.